Christopher. We're just going to cross now to Ottawa to hear what the Finance Minister has to say.
Watching from coast to coast. I just want to start. Je vais saluer d'abord ma collègue, la ministre Joly. Merci, Madame la ministre. Évidemment, on sera au rendez-vous. C'est ça le message qu'on vous envoie ce matin avec la ministre Joly, le ministère de l'Économie, le ministère de l'Industrie ici au Canada. Ma collègue Paddy Hajdu, qui évidemment va représenter tout le secteur des travailleurs. Puis j'en profite ce matin de remercier les différents leaders syndicaux qui sont avec nous ce matin. Merci de votre présence. This is Team Canada at its best. We need our workers, we need our unions, and I want to say special thanks also to all the workers behind us. You made us proud. We stood up for you, we're going to stand up for you, we're going to stand up for industry, we're going to stand up for business, and we're going to stand for Ideal Roofing. That's the message. That is the message this morning to all of you. Je veux saluer évidemment mon collègue, le ministre Solomon, qui a joué un rôle important aussi dans la réponse qu'on va donner. Et I want to say thank you to all my other colleagues which are joining. I won't name them because, as Mona said, there are many, many colleagues who are joining. But I think what Canadians can see this morning is that we stand united. We stand united in our response. We stand united in our resolve. We stand united in fighting for Canada. Et je veux évidemment remercier les gens d'Ideal Roofing de nous accueillir aujourd'hui. Philippe en particulier, très fier avec ton père. Imaginez un peu une entreprise qui a été fondée il y a près de 100 ans dans une ancienne gare d'ici à Ottawa. Vous entendez même encore le son. Et qui est maintenant à sa 4e génération de dirigeants. Donc Philippe dirige l'entreprise et qui emploie 350 personnes à Ottawa, à Toronto, à Moncton. C'est une belle histoire de réussite franco-ontarienne dont nous pouvons tous et toutes être très fiers. You are a true Canadian success story, and a big round of applause to you and the 350 workers. You know, you're supplying roofing across the country, and I saw employees who started when you were very young, they told me. You were very young when they started. But now you're leading the company, and we're going to support you as we go forward. And when we talk about protecting the Canadian economy, we're talking about people like you, people who are watching at home as well, people who get up every morning, clock in, work hard, and support their families and communities. Le Canada traverse aujourd'hui un conflit commercial que nous n'avons pas choisi, mais auquel nous devons faire face avec détermination et engagement. This is an unprecedented challenge imposed on Canada. But Canada will meet the moment. Canadians will meet the moment. We will meet the moment together. And as the Prime Minister has said, we will support our workers, our businesses, and our industry with whatever it takes for as long as it takes. That is the essence of the message this morning, and that's why we are united with you, and that's why we want to present what we have to offer to Canadians. That's why we'll present the outline of our Canada Strong Responses Plan with targeted countermeasures and a substantive support package for workers and businesses totaling $7.5 billion. Because when Canadians stand together, nothing can stop us. Over the past several months, as you have seen, our government has worked intensely and in good faith to reach a mutually beneficial trade agreement with the United States of America. Minister LeBlanc, our chief trade negotiator, Janice Charette, our negotiating team, and the Prime Minister worked tirelessly on behalf of all Canadians. But ultimately, the terms proposed by the U.S. administration were uneconomic, unfair, and ultimately unacceptable. They asked too much of Canada and offered too little in return. Accepting them would have harmed our workers, people like you see here today, weaken our industries, and compromise principles fundamental to our nation. So we stood up for our workers, we stood up for our businesses, we stood up for Canada. Nous n'avons pas choisi ce conflit commercial, mais lorsque notre intégration économique est utilisée comme levier à exploiter, Plutôt que comme fondement d'un partenariat gagnant-gagnant, nous devons nous tenir debout et défendre nos intérêts, défendre nos travailleurs, défendre nos entreprises et défendre notre souveraineté économique. Jamais nous n'accepterons qu'un autre pays nous dicte la voie à suivre. Notre avenir nous appartient en tant que Canadiens. C'est l'essence même d'être maître chez nous. On August 22nd, the United States of America imposed tariffs on 50% on approximately $28 billion in Canadian goods. Those tariffs will have real consequences for Canadian workers, businesses, and communities across our nation. Canada must respond, and today we are, in a proportionate, targeted, and strategic way. Today I'm announcing that Canada will match the United States tariffs dollar for dollar, rate for rate. Effective September 8, Canada will impose counter tariffs of up to 15, 25, or 50% on $27.6 billion in imports from the United States of America. For each product, our tariff would match the American tariff on the same type of Canadian good. Notre objectif est de protéger les travailleurs, les producteurs et les manufacturiers canadiens, comme on voit ici ce matin, tout en plaçant les produits fabriqués ici dans une meilleure position concurrentielle sur le marché canadien. Un peu l'essence de ce qu'on discutait avec Philippe ce matin, de donner une chance à nos entrepreneurs, nos bâtisseurs canadiens de pouvoir être compétitifs sur le marché canadien. Notre réplique visera notamment des produits dans les secteurs de l'acier et de l'aluminium, des appareils électroménagers, de l'équipement agricole, des pâtes et papiers et de l'électronique. Our existing counter tariffs, including those on automobiles, will remain in place. Canada's remission framework will also remain available to mitigate unintended consequences for Canadian businesses. Canada's counter tariffs are designed primarily to provide protection for Canadian industry impacted by U.S. tariffs and allow them to compete against U.S. products in the Canadian market. It's all about fairness, it's all about level playing field, it's all about supporting Canadian workers and Canadian businesses. Il est bon de se rappeler que le plus grand pouvoir que l'on a, tous et toutes, c'est notre propre pouvoir d'achat. Je le disais hier, dans nos épiceries, nos quincailleries, nos entreprises et à tous les ordres de gouvernement, on peut choisir d'acheter canadien et on doit choisir d'acheter canadien. Counter tariffs are only one part of our response. We must also provide businesses with liquidity and, most importantly, keep Canadians working. My colleagues, Minister Joly, Minister Hajdu, and Minister Solomon will present the new and very substantive measures under their respective programs. And I think workers, families, and communities around the nation will see that we're going to stand by you, as we have always done. As Minister of Finance, I will make changes to the large enterprise tariff loan facility to make it more flexible, more responsive, and better able to support major employers affected by tariffs across the country. And I will work closely with my colleagues, Minister Joly, in making sure that we do that as swiftly and efficiently as possible. In fact, our approach is guided by three principles that we have discussed among ministers, that we are committed: rapidity, simplicity, and agility. Because businesses facing immediate pressure need programs they can actually access quickly and efficiently. That is the feedback we receive. That is the commitment that we're all making to you today. Canada can act because we enter this period from a position of strength. And I want Canadians to have confidence. We have the lowest net debt to GDP ratio in the G7, the second fastest growing economy in the G7, and a AAA credit rating. Et la discipline budgétaire dont nous avons fait preuve nous donne aujourd'hui la capacité d'appuyer les travailleurs et les entreprises aussi longtemps qu'il le faudra. So in conclusion, when the United States of America asks too much and offers too little, we made a choice. We chose Canada. Nous avons choisi de défendre nos travailleurs, nos entreprises, notre culture, nos langues officielles et notre capacité à décider de notre propre avenir. So now, let's continue to build Canada strong because we are the true north, strong and free. Merci tout le monde.
Merci, François-Philippe, pour ton leadership. Merci pour, évidemment, mettre la table au prochain chapitre qu'on va entendre aujourd'hui. Et oui, tu as raison, nous sommes maîtres chez nous. We will stand up for Canada. We are standing up for Canada. And I would like now to invite Minister Mélanie Joly to present her chapter of today's announcement. Merci.
Thank you so much. Merci François-Philippe d'avoir présenté ça. Merci pour ton travail aussi pour justement nous aider à être capable de mettre en place cette réponse au tarif qui est si importante. We live in a much more complicated and dangerous world, and of course we take act of the U.S. decision. But to be frank, we've been on the front lines before, and when tariffs were imposed the first time, Canada acted quickly. We stood up for Canadian workers and businesses, and we supported the industries on the front lines, and we strengthened our economy so that Canada could weather the uncertainty. We were there then, and we are here now. And so I know that many business leaders, small entrepreneurs, workers across the country are anxious right now and concerned. We've been there, and we will be there. We will protect your business. We will protect your jobs. Donc, je sais qu'il y a beaucoup de préoccupations, d'anxiété présentement de la part des petites entreprises, des entrepreneurs qui sont tout à coup affectés par les nouveaux tarifs annoncés par le président Trump. On était là par le passé. On l'est maintenant. Aujourd'hui, on va être là pour vous. On va être là pour vous aider. Et d'ailleurs, on était là pour Philippe et Claude parce que, dans le fond, vous avez été affectés par la première tranche de tarifs. Et puis, vous avez été capable de garder votre gang extraordinaire ici. Et donc, on va continuer à vous aider. Au cours de la fin de semaine, j'ai réuni mes collègues ministres responsables des agences de développement régional pour préparer le plan de match. Et j'ai donc travaillé avec Evan, j'ai travaillé avec Patty et plusieurs autres de mes collègues. J'ai également été en contact avec certains de mes homologues provinciaux. Notamment, j'ai eu de longues conversations avec Bernard Drainville, le ministre de l'Économie du Québec. Nous devons agir avec urgence pour protéger les travailleurs, les entreprises et les industries stratégiques du Canada. I will be heading later today to Alberta, to British Columbia and Ontario to meet with business leaders and workers directly affected by these tariffs, hear what they need from government, and make sure that our support is reaching those who need it the most. We will be agile and flexible, and we will continue to adapt as we go. We will not accept a bad deal that asks too much of Canada and offers too little in return. And of course, as François-Philippe just announced, we will respond to the U.S. tariffs dollar for dollar. My job in the context of this crisis is to present the support measures for industries affected by these tariffs. And so our government is introducing a $7.5 billion package of new enhanced measures. So this package includes a lot of support through different agencies. So if you're a small business right now, you have to contact either your regional development agency or the BDC, which you're potentially already working with. Small businesses, through the regional development agencies, will have access to $3 million of non-repayable loans, so basically grants for $3 million, and up to $2 million of interest-free loans. And the businesses that will be able to have access are around those that will have $1 million in revenues. That entire support through the regional development agencies, that may be ACOA in Atlantic Canada, DEC in Quebec, FedDev in Ontario, which Evan is in charge of, FedNor in Northern Ontario, which Patty is in charge of, Prairie Scan, which our colleague Eleanor is in charge of, and Pacific Can also in BC, which Gregor Robertson is in charge of, and Canor, which our colleague Rebecca Chartrand is in charge of, will all be ready to help you. Now, the other way we'll be able to help a lot of our small businesses is through the BDC, which will have $500 million to support through interest-free loans that will be between $250,000 to up to $5 million. And there will be no repayment, no capital actually to pay back to the BDC for the next 36 months. So after the Trump administration. And so what businesses will need to show is they only need to show that their cash flow will be impacted by the tariffs. So the cash flow forecast is clear that basically they'll be impacted by the tariffs. And finally, for bigger businesses, so medium and big businesses, we will work through the Strategic Response Fund, so through the Canada Strong Diversification Fund, to help businesses, and we are now putting $2 billion to support these medium-sized and big businesses. Donc, notre objectif présentement, c'est d'aider les petites et moyennes entreprises et également d'aider les plus grandes entreprises. Pour les petites entreprises, ça va être via DEC au Québec, donc l'Agence de développement économique régional. Il va y avoir du soutien non remboursable jusqu'à 3 millions de dollars qui va être offert aux entreprises affectées par les tarifs et 2 millions de dollars aussi de liquidité, donc de prêts sans intérêt. Il va y avoir également un programme via la BDC. La BDC va pouvoir offrir des prêts sans intérêt. Il n'y a aucun capital qui va être nécessaire à rembourser pour les prochains 36 mois, donc après l'administration Trump. Et ce que les entreprises vont devoir démontrer essentiellement, c'est que leurs prédictions de liquidité vont être affectées par les tarifs. Et finalement, nous allons voir également le Fonds de réponse stratégique, 2 milliards de dollars pour aider les grandes entreprises affectées par les nouveaux tarifs. Et on va aller rapidement, on va être très agile et notre objectif est de pouvoir justement vraiment être capable de répondre à la demande. Lors de la première tranche de soutien, nous avons aidé environ 1000 entreprises et nous avons protégé 36 000 emplois, mais nous savons que la demande va être plus grande parce que les tarifs affectent plusieurs différentes industries. So, under the first chapter of the trade war, we were able to support around 1,000 businesses across the country and protect 36,000 jobs. Right now, we know that there are many new sectors affected and, of course, many new businesses and jobs to be protected. The lesson from the first round of tariffs was clear. We cannot control the decisions made in Washington, but we can control what we build here at home. And we are already seeing Canadian companies step up like never before. These companies are showing us what Canada can do when we bet on ourselves. Voici comment nous gagnerons. En renforçant notre économie chez nous, en produisant davantage ce dont nous avons besoin et en facilitant l'achat canadien, l'embauche canadienne et la construction canadienne. Because economic sovereignty means having the capacity to produce, invest, and grow in Canada. Building at home is not a plan B. It is plan A. So, for many of you watching us right now, you may ask yourself, what can I do? What can I do to help? This morning, I had the chance to talk with many associations of retailers to really have them on board to make sure that at your grocers, at your local shop, that you understand what are the Canadian products. And I have their support to make sure that's the case. And we will push them to make sure that that's the case, because that's really how you can help. If you see a Canadian product, please support it. Because what is really important from this new chapter of the trade war is that actually when you choose a Canadian product, you're not only putting pressure on the U.S. Right now, you're protecting jobs, because the new companies that are affected by the tariffs are actually those that you may see at the grocery store or at your local Canadian Tire. That's what you can do. And that's how we can launch this movement of resistance to what is happening to us. Et donc, c'est pour ça que c'est si important présentement d'acheter canadien. Parce que les nouveaux tarifs ne sont pas juste sur l'acier, l'aluminium et l'automobile, ce qui faisait déjà mal, mais ils sont sur des compagnies qui peuvent être à l'épicerie ou également dans vos différents, dans les différents marchés ou les différentes boutiques où vous allez. Parce que les nouveaux tarifs sont sur des secteurs, justement, comme les boissons, comme l'alimentation, l'alimentaire, comme sur les produits forestiers, incluant sur les bâtons d'hockey, etc. Donc, vous avez un pouvoir sur la situation. Et donc, j'ai parlé ce matin avec le Conseil québécois du détail, justement pour que ça soit clair à l'épicerie, dans nos différents magasins, qu'est-ce qui est québécois, qu'est-ce qui est canadien. And so for the rest, we'll continue also to pivot, to work with new allies and also with our trading partners, because we need to position Canada as a partner of choice of investment, trade, and security. We'll continue to make sure that our businesses have access to more markets, more investments, and more opportunities for Canadians. So we're choosing our own course. We cannot wait for Washington to decide our future. We're strengthening our economy and building a more sovereign Canada. Merci beaucoup. Merci, merci.